Hello and welcome to this January update with a specific UiPath stock theme. I bought UiPath stocks last year and I lost around 50% and I want to know what's going on. Let me state that I bought the stocks because I love the community, I love UiPath as a product. It wasn't an investment, and anything in this video will not be investment advice. But I called a real expert to know what's going on with the UiPath stocks and how he see the competition and the UiPath stock going forward. And I have another guest, as you can see here in the background. Hello and welcome, Stine. Stine forgot to unmute herself. And
Hi.
hi, Stine is my new colleague and she's also my wife. She joined the company and we are doing RPA consulting together, doing education and the likes. First of all, I want to introduce her. Stine, you can find her on LinkedIn here. I can post her LinkedIn profile in the chat. You can follow or connect with her. Stine worked in a lot of big companies, BDO Denmark, Nykredit we can see, and Accenture. Clearly, Stine is way more experienced than my little company here needed, but I think we will have a lot of fun working together. We will get back to that later in the video. First, let me call Unrivaled Investment to hear his take on the UiPath stock. Welcome, Unrivaled Investing. I called you because you are the UiPath stock go-to guy. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Anders, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Daniel, and as you mentioned, I have a channel called Unrivaled Investing, and I'm just so pumped that you have a channel solely dedicated to helping people with their various different RPA solutions. You're wearing the UiPath gear, and as you know, I've done a couple of videos talking about UiPath as a company, trying to size it up as an investor. And in full disclosure, I actually recently bought a little bit of UiPath stock. So in full disclosure, I do own it, but none of this is investment advice.
Yeah, we should say that nothing we say here will be investment advice, nor for my part. And I was so lucky that I bought the UiPath stock at probably the all-time high. I can see here I bought at 77.69. I bought a little over 100 stocks, and now they are at 36.55 as of now. So I lost a lot. It's okay. It was an investment in the community because I loved the whole UiPath community. I love the product and all that. And usually my investment will go in passive funds whenever I have excess money. So yeah. But I thought that you could tell me a bit about what went wrong. I mean, something has there has to be something that went wrong here, and maybe you could enlighten me.
Sure. So it's a good question. And a lot of folks, see huge declines, especially with, great growth businesses like UiPath recently. And they're saying, well, is there something fundamentally wrong? And there's a few things investors need to understand. One is that stocks will inherently be volatile. So you got to be prepared to have these types of lumps, to try to accept the fact that things don't go straight up. You will have 50% drawdowns. You might have 90% drawdowns.
Recording in progress.
So stock prices can go higher or lower. They will be volatile. You can have huge drops due to volatility. So looking at UiPath and any company, you need to understand that there are three things that drive stock prices over time. There's the cash flow that you can get. A lot of people know that is dividends. Another aspect, UiPath isn't paying a dividend. Another aspect is the valuation. So how excited are people to own the stock, or how much what type of expectations do investors have? Do they have really high expectations or do they have low expectations? That's the valuation. And then the third component that drives investor returns is the fundamentals. So that's the way it is with every investment. You have these three things: dividends, valuation, and fundamentals. And you need to understand all three when you look at any company. And UiPath, it doesn't have that dividend, but it has had a lot of valuation compression. That valuation has come down a lot, and partly because it was very, very expensive. And this is a key aspect. If there's one thing to walk away from this video, is that a great company at a very expensive price can still turn out to be a bad investment. And that's argue what you've seen so far, because investors are saying, wait a second, UiPath is growing at a fantastic rate. It's growing 50, 60%. You look at its competitors like Blue Prism, it's growing much, much slower, and UiPath is much bigger. And so here it is, UiPath arguably doing very well. And how come the stock is down 50%? And it's because you need to consider these three variables. Fundamentals is arguably the most important variable over a multi-year period, but any given day, it's that valuation that's going to drive it. Looking at UiPath now, I'd say you're looking at a company around $20 billion with around $1 billion in annualized recurring revenue. That is still quite a very full valuation. I'd argue very rich valuation. So even though I own some, I own very little just because I recognize how expensive it is. And so that's how I'm thinking about it. You know, traditionally companies would trade at much lower valuations than what you're seeing here. Did that answer your question?
Definitely. So you're saying that at some point in time, like 1 year ago, they were traded too high. It was a great company, as you say, it was greater than probably the other RPA companies. And then, but the price was so high that there was no room for it to grow, and it needed to go a little bit down because the demand for it shrinks. Or
yeah, the challenge is that you always have these offsetting dynamics. Is you can have strong fundamentals, but if you have valuation offset it, that can result in a lousy return. Ideally, you want to find something at a cheap valuation and has strong fundamentals. So that way your valuation can expand over time and you can have two drivers of return. And that's the challenge you have or currently have with UiPath, is that it has really strong fundamentals, but that valuation just continues to hold down returns.
So now that I lost 50% or roughly, let's say that, if you were to give me an investment advice, you cannot do that. But do you think we should go lower than this, or do you see a plateau, or where
nothing? No advice here. Sorry to interrupt. In terms of where do I think UiPath goes from here? And I think that's what you're asking. What's its trajectory in the years ahead? And as I'm looking at UiPath, I consider it's still trading at a very full valuation, you know, around 20 times annualized recurring revenue. And yes, it is growing nicely, but given how rich that valuation is, it's possible that the stock, you know, treads water, even continues to decline in the short term. And so that is something that I'm mindful of with my own portfolio. And that's the reason why I'm not, while I do currently own a stake in UiPath, it's not a huge position for me personally. It's a smaller allocation. Does that make sense?
Of course, it does. No. And what about the competition? Do you know anything about that? Like there's the Blue Prism, the Automation Anywhere might go public, and then there's Microsoft. I don't know if you're aware, but Microsoft went into the market with they bought Softomotive, which had the Win Automation, which became Power Automate Desktop, and now. As a developer, from a developer standpoint, I work in both. I can say that they are years behind, but they're still Microsoft, and they roll it out to all Windows users. How do you see that?
So I think you're asking a really great question, which is how do you see the competitive dynamics? And you know, my channel, as you already called out, it's Unrivaled Investing, and so I'm looking for companies that don't have a lot of competition. You know, ideally, they just set themselves apart, and so. What I usually use to judge a business when I'm sizing it up is there's two aspects. One is what type of competitive advantages do they have? And that's a whole other separate conversation about what do they do from a competitive perspective that sets them apart. But then you can also look on a financial perspective saying, okay, are you bigger, let's say, than your competitors? Okay, so that means you're doing more business. Are you growing faster than your competitors? Oh, okay. If you're growing faster than competitors, it means you're taking more of the pie than they are. And so those are the data points that I look at. So when I see, in addition to the competitive, you know, sizing up their competitive advantage. And so looking at these two aspects, I think it's important to consider both. So far, there's not a lot of additional financial data about their competitors, but it does look like UiPath is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, and it's growing at a very fast rate, certainly growing faster than Blue Prism. And they're much bigger. I think they're like 5 times bigger than Blue Prism. So like looking at that makes me think, okay, UiPath is clearly doing well, but I'd actually like to turn the table and ask you, Anders, from your perspective, who do you think has the best solution? And, one of the questions, you like to consider with investing is it potentially 10 times better than the competitors' offerings? Because if you have something that's like 10 times better, you sort of have a right to win over time. So I'm curious, do you feel like UiPath or any given player out there is really just exceptional, 10 times better than the rest?
I think that's a great question, and I will say I'm not sure they are 10 times better. They are definitely ahead of the market of every player there. They are the biggest RPA tool. They score high, and there's a Forrester and Gartner reports every quarterly. They score. They're in the Magic Quadrant, and every time they seem to be up there, or they are up there for a good reason. But I will say that as with your channel, Unrivaled Investing, you tell me that you only invest in companies, or it's about investing in companies that is way ahead of the competition. And I'm afraid that UiPath, Microsoft comes in right behind them, not because they are anywhere near at the product. UiPath is way better than Microsoft, but they are Microsoft. They got muscles, and they got a market. If they want to roll this out, they can just give all. They already gave all Windows 10 and 11 users, Windows users, the ability to download it for free. So now everyone got a free RPA solution. It's weaker than UiPath, a lot weaker, but still it's free, and it's Microsoft behind it, so they can probably easily speed it up with the engineers in there. So would you say that this is an investment that you will look at your channel, UiPath, now when you know this, or is it not an unrivaled investing?
Yeah, so as I look at it, considering unrivaled investments, I think about, okay, let's judge this one quarter at a time and say, you don't want to let your emotions take over and say, oh my goodness, Microsoft's competing. I got to sell out of this. Let's judge it one quarter at a time and see how the company is executing. Are they continuing to grow at a good clip? Are they still taking market share? Are they still the market leader? But the points you raised about Microsoft are super duper important. I'd argue that is a super strong competitive advantage that Microsoft has. And with investing, as in life, you oftentimes can ask yourself, have I seen this movie before? And arguably you have, as you look at Slack, Teams, and Microsoft, where Slack was like, oh, we welcome the competition with Microsoft. We're going to kick their butt sort of attitude. And here it is. Slack saw their growth decelerate significantly and ultimately sold themselves to Salesforce.com. So I wonder if you might see a similar path with UiPath. Shareholders in Slack, still did well, reasonably well, but it does make you more cautious knowing that competitive dynamic exists, where you could have one player that's an expert at rolling out solutions and already has this massive worldwide audience. Could they push it out to their audience and start taking share from UiPath? And it's a legitimate concern and question.
And to you viewers out there, this is Daniel from Unrivaled Investing. He got probably two of the best UiPath videos. I will link to that. There'll be one in the right corner as well here. But before you leave, can we expect any UiPath videos anytime soon on your channel?
Yeah, if there's enough viewers, I'll make it happen.
And as the UiPath video has to be one of your more popular ones, is that right?
There's a lot of companies out there, and so some people like UiPath. So I've certainly covered it a couple of times. I might do it again in the future.
I really hope. I cross fingers for you to do another great video on those. And thanks for taking your time to explaining me what happened to my stock and what might happen in the future, that it could tread waters. But I will stick with UiPath, and I will just have it in my portfolio at least a lot of time in the future as well.
Excellent. Well, it's great talking with you, Anders. Thanks so much for having me on. And it's awesome that you have this channel dedicating to educating people. I'm all about empowering people and helping people out. So I love that you're doing that with this channel.
Thanks, Daniel. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Unrivaled Investing. This was a very good analysis. Now let's get back to the January status, where the UiPath stocks played a little role, but not a big role. I'll bring back Stine. Hello, Stine.
Hi, Anders, and everyone out there.
And what do you think of Daniel's analysis of the UiPath stock?
I think it's really interesting, and I must say that this is something that Anders and I have been talking a lot about for fun at home, because I used to work in banking, and I don't necessarily give him an A in investment grade for this, but sometimes you got to follow your heart, right?
I'm in love with the UiPath community, so I made that investment, and we didn't agree on that, but hey, you spend some money on things that is of your interest, so I think it works.
Exactly.
And thanks for everyone attending here in the chat. Thanks to Jensen, who sent a nice donation. It's really appreciated. And to all of you guys and women engaging, thanks a lot. If you want to help this channel and the stream, you can give it a thumbs up. That will improve the reach, and thereby we can make more videos. But back to the January update. So I introduced my colleague, and then we had the UiPath stock analysis, which were really, really good. And as I said, it doesn't play a huge role in our company. So if we want to do more analysis on our income, we can bring in the YouTube channel, because we are making money out of our YouTube channel. This is the January stats. We get viewed around 200,000 times, and that is 15,000 watch hours. 1,400 subscribers coming in, and we earned $1,200. As you can see, $1,200 here in Denmark. You cannot make a living out of that, but the YouTube channel serve as another nice purpose where where it serves as a portfolio. People, they see that I can solve UiPath or Microsoft Power Automate problems. Then they want to buy consulting, or they even want to buy courses or content. So it's really, really nice. You can see here it grew a little from month to month. It's actually been the best month ever. So we're at 1,200 coming in from the YouTube channel, and let me go back to my presentation here. So if we scroll a little bit down, let's look at the financial result. We have some expenses, and most of them are really small, like link bio. That is a link section in my Instagram profile that cost me $1 a month. Then I have Genius Link. When you click the affiliate links down below here, this video, when you click it, it can see where you come from, and it can send you out to my affiliate page. For example, if you sit in USA, it will send you there. To Amazon US or India, it will send you there. Then I have some cables, the Microsoft Office Business, which will, as Stine joins here the 1st of February, that one will double. Then I have some sounds. I have these headphones actually, and some fathead microphone. I improved the sound a lot, as it was a terrible sound. There was some sort of a windy noise. And Christian from Germany, if you're watching this, thanks for your help. You definitely helped me sounding so great here in these live streams. And then I have freelance graphic. On my YouTube channel, I buy the thumbnails because I cannot create those ones in Photoshop myself. So I pay money to have a freelancer doing that for me. Then I have the timeless subscription, which is time tracking. Use that, and some miscellaneous. Total, I had, because it was still my company in January, Stine didn't join. So I had like $650 in expenses. Then the revenue. The revenue was 2 consulting jobs, netting around a little bit above $5,000. And then the AdSense, as you saw before. So now let's go to Power BI and see the final revenue profit loss here, which is here. So revenue is around $6,000. Expenses of $1.1 thousand, which gives a profit of January totally of $4,940. This is more than in December, so that is great. You cannot lift 2 people here in Denmark out of $5,000, so we need to make more money in order to survive this one here. And so I'll say that what we'll focus on is, it was actually the wrong financial year. But so we actually earned 6,000, and it was in December it was 4,900. But 6,000 is still not enough to make a living, even though it's great. It was, and actually you should take into account it was only me. So 6,000, and that's before taxes, which those are quite high here in Denmark. So 6,000 in profit, and let me get back to the presentation. I want to credit Henry Salsa because, let me click on him, you can follow him on LinkedIn. He made this Power BI dashboard just for me. So thank you, Henry. I know that you are watching out there. It's highly appreciated, such a big help. And I can present this in Power BI and it actually looks so nice as this. So let me go back to the presentation. If you want to watch the previous presentations of our company, you can find them below. I'll make this site public when the live stream stops. I'm not really sure if something going on in the chat. I can see there's another donation. Thanks a lot, Nico. That's highly appreciated. You didn't have to. And actually, I remember you and I had an agreement of having a soft drink together when we visit in Romania or at the UiPath Congress. I'm looking forward for that. And maybe we can bring in Stine. Hello, Stine. Are you still there?
I'm still here, Anders.
Thanks a lot. And this is your first live stream. How is it?
It's okay. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm used to sitting behind the screen and helping someone like Anders. So it's nice to get out of my comfort zone and talk to all of you. And it's really nice that you're all engaging in the chat and trying to answer as much as I can.
And with that said, you are a veteran in the RPA industry. How many years have you worked with RPA?
I started working intensely with RPA in 2015 when I worked for one of the largest banks in Denmark, where we wanted to implement RPA as one of the first in Denmark. And we actually started with UiPath. I remember my boss told me that it was either you're going to get fired or you're going to get promoted decision, because back then it was a small company in a basement in Romania. They didn't have a customer support or anything like that, and we couldn't find any developers or trainings on UiPath. So fortunately, UiPath as a product has gone better than their stock, as we just saw. So I'm really happy that I've been in the community for so many years.
And UiPath wasn't the only RPA tool that you work with. Can you name a few of the other RPA tools that you work with?
Back then, the really big tool in Denmark was Blue Prism, and I think that was mainly in the financial services industry, and I think they are still very big within that sector. I haven't worked that much with it myself since then. And then I've worked a lot with actually Softomotive, that process robot and Win Automation, which is now called Microsoft Power Automate and Power Automate for desktop. So that was really interesting, working with a product that was acquired by Microsoft. And that is my main focus now, that is helping our community understand this new awesome product that, as I think one of you wrote in the chat, they have a big advantage that they can deploy it to all their Windows users without anyone saying yes or no. So it's really interesting to follow that development.
Thank you. And if you enjoyed this show, to the viewers out there, you can really help the show by giving it a thumbs up. That will help us. And Stine, how has it been to join the company here on February the 1st? I know this is a January update, but you actually joined the company 24 days ago.
It's been really nice. I think it's awesome to work with Anders. I'm used to working in really large companies with more than, Accenture is a ginormous international company with more than several 100,000 employees. And I recently worked for BDO, which is also a very large international company. So working in a small two-man army with Anders is really amazing. And it's nice to be able to do fun stuff every day. It feels like every day is a vacation because we're doing all the stuff that we love, and we have such a great community and all you guys supporting us and helping us. So it's really amazing.
And when I told you about this idea that I wanted to make a YouTube channel and thereby drive enough attention to get the freelance job, did you believe in that?
No, absolutely not. I think when you started, I was pregnant with our son. And I remember when I went to bed because I was exhausted and pregnant, you were sat up all night and made videos and got yourself so good at UiPath and all the other tools. And I thought you were a little bit crazy. But then on the other hand, it was really exciting to see you get so involved with something and that you've done this on the side, also having a full-time job, being a dad and a husband and a friend and a family member. It's really impressive. And I really enjoy that I can now spend my time help you kind of scale the company with the experience that I have from consulting in many, many years.
Yes, because clearly you are way over experienced having worked in Accenture and Nykredit and BDO. So what do you think you can bring to the company that we are now two here?
I think what I bring to the company is that I'm more interested in making sure that we also make some money. You are so engaged with the community, and sometimes you are very good at getting ideas. And what we sometimes joke is that when we have meetings, I give Anders this post-it block because he comes up with 20 ideas in 10 minutes when we are trying to do something very concrete. Then he can put all his ideas on this post-it block, and then he usually forgets them when he's done. But we are not here. We wouldn't be here if you were not as innovative as you are. So I'm good at delivering all the insane ideas that you come up with. And then also, it's a fun fact. I used to be a real estate agent, so I love to sell. That's one of my main focuses also is engaging with our customers and agreeing on prices and in terms of business and the sorts. And I really love that kind of work and making sure it's a good deal for everyone involved.
And without revealing what will go on in the next status update in a month, can you give a little insight how your first 20 days have been in relation to do you have something to do? Do you work with customers, or what do you actually do?
Yeah, I think it's been up and down. Some days I don't necessarily have that much to do, and that's very unlike what I'm used to. But then I enjoy going to the kindergarten and picking up our son early and enjoying those days. But most days I'm so impressed with all the customers that are actually coming to us with us, not even reaching out to them. I've been working in consulting for many years, and normally I would have to pursue clients myself. It's very much the opposite here in our company. The clients come to us. They have great ideas for both collaborations on content, but also consulting tasks and teaching tasks. So that's really interesting. And then I'm also, as I'm debuting here today, I'm trying to also get started on creating content for our channels on the more soft sides of RPA. So that's the new area for me. And then without revealing too much, I can say that Anders had one primary client in Denmark that he really wanted to do some education with. And within the first, he said, it's 24 days. This Monday, I managed to seal the deal with them. So for now, I think I'll get a good employee rating from Anders.
For sure. And if you out there want to know more about this, remember to subscribe to the channel to get our future status update. And speaking of that, tomorrow we will have an 8-hour study. Not tomorrow, on Saturday we will have an Automation Anywhere advanced certification session where we will get Automation Anywhere certified in 8 hours. If you want to join that, I post a link to that in the chat. I did previously, but if you didn't see, it comes there. And Stine, do you think what will be? Do you see the risks of our company? What can go wrong?
I think the biggest risk for me personally is being in business with also my best friend and my husband. So, but I'm quite confident that we are a good match for working together. So I wouldn't want to lose you. But then on a more professional point of view, the biggest risk I think is us being too busy and forgetting that the reason why we're here is also this community. So if we sell too many projects and consultancy tasks, we will forget to make content for all you guys out there. And that is our main focus and what gets us up in the morning. So that's one of the things that we're talking a lot about, making sure we have time to create content for you guys. And we really enjoy that, both of us.
Sure. Thank
but
you.
I'm not that worried, to be honest. It's really cool, and the foundation you've built is amazing.
And I think one of the things that what Stine says here, what you say, is that I think the benefits is that we can work whenever we want. We don't have to work on fixed hours. We don't have to go to an office. We can pick up our son when we want. But it can be a risk because sitting alone, I'm in the basement right now, you are in the other part of the house. that can be quite lonely. You don't meet a lot of people. You can get quite weird, I think, if you continue a lot with that. So might want to implement office days, going to a shared office with other like-minded people. That could be an idea, or going out doing consulting jobs like once or twice a week. But that will come. Right now, it's very nice to have this company and be able to do what you dream about. And I think we are about to come to an end. And Nidhi, thanks a lot for joining, and thanks for the nice words. Morgan, thanks a lot for the words about the UiPath stock. I agree with that to a certain extent. And Stine, thanks a lot for joining. I know you will be with us in the February update, but you will also hold a live session yourself where you will explaining what RPA is. Is that right?
That's correct. Next week, we are planning to do a session with me actually hosting it, and Anna's only doing all the technical stuff behind scenes, so I can learn that. And we'll be talking about what RPA is, what you can use it for, and also some of the use cases that I've seen over the past 7 years of building many hundred robots. So I hope some of you will also join that. More
Cool.
info to come.
And thanks to all the viewers out there. It's it's amazing how you guys and women engage in the chat and all the nice comments for us. We will gladly answer everything that comes. So thanks a lot for that. And Stine, thanks a lot for joining the company and being so nice. I mean, every day is nice. It's nice working with you. And I hope we can in the next month. If I bring in this Power BI sheet again here, that was our result for January, or my result when I was alone. So I earned 6,000 before taxes. I hope we can boost this a bit, because this is not enough for 2 people, right?
I agree.
So have a good time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.